with this work, I wanted to talk to you about some of the ways in which I discover objects, and they stay in my studio for some time, and I figure out ways that I will use them. For this show, I was interested in figurative work, as it could be a way of understanding also the connections with the paintings, drawings, if you will. And one of the ways I would consider doing this figurative work is with the accumulation of objects themselves. Objects that had its own history, that have their own connections to the body. So I started with this shape, which is actually originally a paper mache vase. And the candlesticks, they're very common among Indian families to have these brass-like candlesticks, and they're not always candle, they're called oil lamps. And I was very interested in the brass because it seems to be ubiquitous. And these brass spindled ware would be very available in India and get transported and shipped through commerce to many places, and would be common in the United States as well, and was a kind of way of suggesting the colonial dinnerware, tableware. And this particular one was actually made in Japan, which was a very amusing thing, that this thing that to me I immediately thought was made in India was actually made in Japan for US consumption. All these things kind of invite me to contemplate what all these kinds of positions mean and how they lay an area of ownership to what you see the object. Is it colonial? Is it Japanese? Is it Indian? And I think this is a very kind of fertile place to think about how we choose and select, how we identify ourselves, how objects are then identified, and what this allows us to do in terms of our own kind of mobility, where we choose to end the boundaries of our identity and where we choose to overlap. This work I called, by short, Missionary. The mixture of materials bought as jewelry, as raw materials like the turtle shell, the hemp that I've made the collar with by crocheting myself, alludes to the variety that exists that can't really be deciphered instantly at once. The coral here, whether it's a bead or it's natural, the feather fabric, which I didn't make but is sold in the fashion market in New York, but actually comes out of Bangladesh, where it was originally sewn by hand onto silk georgette. The tiger cowrie shells, which I bought at a florist. The flora and the fauna, all these two things became two very visible categories in pseudoscience in the colonial period. They defined the missions of many people besides missionaries, explorers, scientists, hobbyists. The kind of world of exploring was a world of goods, of bringing goods home for both display and for finding meaning to our lives. And a connection, whether valid or not, was very much a way of understanding the new sense of country.